Your methods are outdated, Kelsey said, casually leaning against her sleek glass desk. Sunlight streamed through the towering windows of her corner office, catching the glint of her platinum watch. We need voices that reflect modern marketing dynamics. I sat perfectly still, hands folded in my lap, absorbing her words in silence. After 15 years at Marlowe and Birch, this was how it ended. In a pristine office with a CEO who'd been in the role for just 10 weeks. Meredith, this is Avery Langston, she continued, gesturing toward the young woman beside her. She'll be taking over your accounts immediately. Avery, with her flawless blowout and trendy white blazer, gave me what I can only assume was meant to be a reassuring smile. I'm really excited to build on the foundation you've created, she said. Foundation. As if my decade and a half of crisis management, client development, and award-winning branding work were just a first draft for this 28-year-old influencer-turned-marketing guru to scribble over with hashtags and metrics. Halvorson Corp., Ridgefield Mutual, and Evergreen Organics are our most critical clients, I said evenly. They've been with me since the beginning. A transition like this might unsettle them. Kelsey shrugged. We've got it covered. Avery will introduce herself this week. HR has your severance documents prepared. It's a very generous package. I didn't mention how Halvorson's chief marketing officer called me first when their cybersecurity crisis hit. I didn't bring up the months I spent helping Ridgefield rebrand after the recession, or the fact that Evergreen's CEO had once invited me to her son's graduation. I simply stood, smoothed my blazer, and nodded. Understood. I'll gather my things. As I turned to leave, Kelsey added, we'd appreciate it if you made this transition smooth for everyone. Translation. Don't contact the clients. Don't ruffle feathers. Don't ruin our shiny image. Of course, I replied. I've always been professional. And I had. For 15 years, I had poured my energy into Marlowe and Birch in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'd built client relationships that were more than business. I'd mentored every fresh grad who came through our doors. I'd worked through weekends and holidays and turned a once obscure boutique firm into a regional powerhouse. But none of that mattered now. To Kelsey Wren, I was a relic, an outdated prototype to be swapped for a sleeker, younger version. Yet beneath the sting of dismissal, something else stirred. A sense of clarity. They thought they were shutting the door on my career. But I was just getting started. My journey at Marlowe and Birch had begun when it was still known as Brightwell Communications. Back then, we were 6 people jammed into a converted brownstone near the university. I was 36, newly divorced with a 9-year-old son, and determined to make my mark after a decade as a regional journalist. The founder, Elaine Brightwell, had taken a chance on me. Journalists know how to connect, she told me during my interview. That's what great marketing is all about. Those early days were wild, no structure, no fancy software, but filled with grit and heart. Every new client meant handwritten thank you notes and late-night pizza in the conference room. When I landed the Halvorson account in year 2, doubling our revenue, Elaine gave me a plaque that still sits on my desk. Relationships before results, she'd always say. And she was right. Relationships had built everything. And they would rebuild everything, too. On handwritten thank you notes for every project. When I landed the Halvorson account in my second year, an achievement that doubled our annual revenue, Elaine gave me a plaque that still sat on my bookshelf. Relationships before transactions. That's what she used to say. And I lived by it. Over the years, I watched the agency grow from 6 people in a brownstone to over 100 employees downtown. We evolved. We rebranded. We were eventually acquired by a larger holding company when Elaine retired. Through it all, I stayed. I weathered new leadership styles, shifting brand guidelines, and the creeping corporate bloat. But I never wavered in my approach, relationships first, always. As I packed my belongings, I carefully wrapped each industry award, each thank you plaque from a client, each symbol of the work that had defined my career. These weren't just decorations, they were proof of something real. There was Tyler Wells, the CMO at Halverson, who called me personally every time they had a product issue, trusting me to steer the public message. We had weathered 3 company restructures and countless launches together. There was Jessica Monroe at Evergreen Organics, who leaned on my team when they expanded from a Midwest co-op to a national household brand. She once told me, "Meredith, you're the only marketing executive who actually toured our farms. You didn't just talk about values, you showed up to understand them." And then there was Robert Klein at Richfield Mutual, who stuck with Marlowe and Birch through the financial crisis. His words still echoed in my memory. "Meredith gets it. Our business isn't about the numbers on a chart. It's about trust." These weren't just clients. These were relationships that had been cultivated with care, patience, and integrity. I placed my last award, Marketing Professional of the Year, given just 4 months ago, into the box, beside my work laptop and my ID badge. My phone buzzed as I turned off the lights. It was a message from my daughter, Ellie. "How did the meeting go? Still on for dinner tonight?" I smiled in spite of everything. "Definitely. And I have some news. Love you." I walked out of Marlowe and Birch for the last time, a box of memories in my arms, and a quiet determination settling in my chest. The restaurant was bustling, even for a Tuesday. Ellie had already grabbed our favorite corner booth. She stood up as I approached, her 25-year-old energy and warmth lighting up the room. "So, what's the big news?" she asked after we ordered. "Did they finally make you a partner?" I took a breath. "Actually, they let me go today." Ellie's face shifted instantly from hopeful curiosity to outrage. "What? After 15 years? That's business," I said gently. "New CEO, new strategy." "It's wrong," she snapped. "Everyone knows that agency ran because of you." I smiled at her fierce loyalty. "It's okay. Maybe this is the push I needed." Ellie narrowed her eyes. "You're taking this really well. Suspiciously well. What are you planning?" "That's my daughter, always reading between the lines. Do you remember Jason and Veronica? They left last year." "Of course," she nodded. "Your creative director and the strategist. They've been trying to get me to join them. They're building something new, small, lean, focused on real relationships instead of flashy trends." Recognition lit up Ellie's face. "And now, you're free." I nodded. "Exactly. I'm free." "And you kept turning them down because of your loyalty to Marlowe and Birch," Ellie said gently. "Exactly. But now," I hesitated. "Now you're free," she finished for me. Free. The word settled over me like a revelation. As our food arrived, I turned the idea over in my mind. After years of walking the tightrope between rigid corporate mandates and my relationship-first approach, I was suddenly unbound. No politics. No forced trends. Just possibility. After dinner, I stepped outside and called Jason. "We need to talk," I said. "We were hoping you'd say that," he replied without hesitation. "Breakfast tomorrow?" "Riverside Cafe. 8 a.m. Ellie raised her glass before we parted ways. "To new beginnings, Mom." Later that evening, as I reflected on the day, I found myself telling her more. About Kelsey's condescending tone. About Avery's rehearsed sympathy. About how clearly they saw me as a dinosaur. Obsolete. Replaceable. "What about your clients?" Ellie asked, always sharp. "Halverson, Ridgefield, Evergreen, they've all been with you forever." I nodded. "They'll probably be upset. But I can't reach out. I signed a non-solicitation agreement when Elaine sold the firm. I can't actively pull clients from them." "But if they come to you?" she asked. "That's different," I said. "Still, I don't know if they will. Companies form contracts with agencies, not individuals." Even as I said it, I knew it wasn't the whole truth. Tyler had called me just last week about their upcoming tech product launch. Jessica sent me pictures of her daughter's graduation. Robert had mailed me a thank you card in his precise handwriting just 2 months ago. Still, sentiment doesn't always translate in business. Kelsey would be locking things down, scrambling to reinforce those ties. Scheduling meetings. reassuring executives. I need to move forward, not backward, I said, mostly to myself. Then my purse buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times. I pulled out my phone. Tyler, heard the news. We need to talk, call me tomorrow. Jessica, Meredith, please call. Urgent. Robert, this is unacceptable. Breakfast tomorrow, 8:30? I looked up at Ellie, wide-eyed. What? She asked. I showed her the texts. It seems those agency-client relationships might have been more personal than Kelsey realized. The next morning, I slid into a booth at Riverside Cafe, greeted by the scent of fresh coffee and crisp bacon. Jason and Veronica were already seated, grinning like teenagers with a secret. We've been waiting for this, Jason said, handing me a folder. Inside were fully developed business plans, financial projections, and a proposed leadership chart. My name was there, founding partner, head of client strategy. You've been busy, I said, skimming through the materials. Veronica leaned in, always the straight shooter. We've watched Marlowe and Birch drift from Elaine's vision every year. When the acquisition happened, we stuck around. But when Kelsey was promoted, we knew it was only a matter of time before they pushed you out. I exhaled. The industry's evolving, sure. But that doesn't mean trust and relationships are obsolete. Exactly, Jason agreed. Disruption is just a buzzword if it forgets the people. The tools may change, but the heart of marketing is still connection. Their energy was contagious. Still, I hesitated. I believe in this really, I do, but building something from the ground up won't be easy. It took me years to build my client base at Marlowe. Veronica and Jason exchanged a knowing glance. We have something to show you, Veronica said, pulling out her tablet. She opened an email and slid it across the table toward me. This came in last night. It was a message from Winstead Manufacturing, a mid-sized industrial company that had been on Marlowe and Birch's prospect list for years. I blinked. How did they find you? You haven't even launched yet. Jason grinned. Word gets around. A former colleague mentioned we were starting something new. Turns out Winstead's marketing director is less than thrilled with their current agency. I was still reading the email when my phone rang. I recognized the name immediately, Tyler Wells, from Halvorson Corp. I need to take this, I said, stepping away from the table. Meredith, he began without a greeting, his voice tight. What on earth is going on over there? I assume you're talking about the handoff? Handoff, he scoffed. Yesterday, I got a call introducing me to someone named Avery. She claims she's taking over our account. I nearly dropped the phone. There's been a leadership shift, I said carefully. The new CEO has a different approach to client management. Different approach? Tyler's voice rose. We've worked together for nearly a decade. You've helped us through 3 product launches and 2 acquisitions. Now they think they can just plug someone else in like this as a call center. I appreciate your loyalty, Tyler. Truly. But I can't solicit clients. I signed a non-compete when the company was acquired. I'm not asking you to poach us, he said quickly. I'm asking where you're going. Because Halvorson may want to follow. I paused, heart pounding. I'm exploring something new. I'll let you know when there's more to share. When I returned to the table, Jason and Veronica were already watching me. Halvorson? Jason asked. I nodded. He's not happy. And I've got breakfast with Robert from Ridgefield Mutual at 9:30. Jessica from Evergreen Organics wants to talk at 11. Veronica leaned back, a slow smile spreading across her face. So, 3 of Marlowe's biggest clients reached out to you within 24 hours of your departure? That's not coincidence, Jason added. It's not a done deal either, I said. They're loyal clients, but they're also practical. Kelsey will fight to keep them. Jason rolled his eyes. With what? Avery Langston's social media credentials? These clients care about substance, not style. As I reached for my coffee, my phone buzzed again. I glanced down. An email from Kelsey Wren. Meredith. Regarding client transitions, please remember the terms of your agreement. Any effort to solicit Marlowe and Birch clients will trigger legal action. We trust you will handle this professionally. Kelsey Wren, CEO. I turned the screen so Jason and Veronica could read it. She's nervous, Veronica observed. She should be, Jason said. I looked at them both and made the decision I'd been circling all morning. Let's do this. But we do it right. No gray areas. No solicitation. If clients come to us, it'll be by their own choosing. Veronica raised her mug. To North Shore Collective, founded on relationships that last. We clinked mugs. And in that moment, I didn't feel anxious. I felt relieved. This wasn't just about recovering after being cast aside. It was about creating something that truly aligned with what I believed in. Through the financial crisis, through our rebranding, through everything, Robert said, frustrated. And then yesterday, I get a call from some Avery person who can't even pronounce our chief investment officer's name correctly. I listened patiently. Transitions are always challenging. This isn't about transitions, Robert snapped. This is about trust. He leaned forward. Ridgefield works with your agency because you understand financial services. Marketing for us isn't about flashy campaigns or TikTok stunts. It's about stability, reliability, integrity. I nodded, careful with my words. I've always valued our partnership, Robert. He didn't miss a beat. So, what are your plans? I paused for a moment, then chose honesty. I'm joining a new firm. We're calling it North Shore Collective, a boutique agency focused on relationship-first marketing. Same values, same depth, just independent. Robert pulled out his phone and made a note. And when are you operational? We're finalizing everything now. 2 weeks at most. He gave a firm nod. I'll need procurement details soon. I was about to reply when my phone buzzed. A message from Ellie. Mom, have you seen this? Attached was a screenshot of a LinkedIn post from Kelsey Wren. Excited to announce Marlowe and Birch's bold new direction. With innovative leadership and rising talent like Avery Langston, we're revolutionizing marketing for the digital age. Sometimes, to grow, you have to say goodbye to outdated methods. Onward and upward. Below was a photo of Kelsey and Avery smiling in front of the agency's logo. My stomach turned slightly, but I kept my face steady as I passed my phone to Robert. He scanned the post. His brow furrowed. Outdated methodologies, he asked coldly. Is she talking about the approach that won us 3 industry awards last year? I shrugged diplomatically. Change is part of business. Not all change is progress, Robert replied, standing. I need to make a few calls. Expect to hear from Ridgefield's team soon. He left, and before I could take a breath, my phone rang again. Jessica Monroe, from Evergreen Organics. Meredith, she said without preamble, I just saw Kelsey's post. Is that why you left? I paused. Jessica. Because if Marlowe and Birch really thinks relationship marketing is outdated, then we've got a serious issue. Evergreen's entire identity is built around relationships, with farmers, with local stores, with the people we serve. I took a breath. I didn't leave by choice. A beat of silence. You were fired, she said, stunned. It was called a restructuring, I clarified. But yes, my approach was labeled outdated. I didn't need to say more, Kelsey's post had said enough. This is outrageous, Jessica said. After everything you've done, our farmland heritage campaign, the co-op expansion, the food access initiative, those weren't just marketing wins. They represented who we are. Her loyalty touched me, but I remained careful. Jessica, I can't solicit. I value our relationship too much to cross that line. You don't have to, she interrupted. I'm letting you know, Evergreen is officially reevaluating our agency relationship. I nodded slowly, my heart steadying. The tide was turning not because I fought back, but because the truth was louder than spin. Where can I reach you if we need to discuss alternatives? Jessica asked. I gave her my personal number and email, a strange, surreal feeling washing over me. Within 24 hours of being labeled obsolete, 3 major clients were reaching out, unsolicited, to explore following me. When the call ended, I remained seated for a few minutes, trying to process the pace of everything. Kelsey's LinkedIn post had been more than tone-deaf. It was a strategic miscalculation, a public rejection of the exact approach her most loyal clients valued. By trying to appear bold and modern, she had unintentionally told relationship-driven clients that they were no longer part of the vision. My phone buzzed again. A text from Jason. Emergency at HQ. Can you come now? HQ still meant Jason's home office, where we were bootstrapping the launch of North Shore Collective. I paid the bill and headed over, concerned. When I walked in, Jason and Veronica were huddled around a laptop, wide-eyed. What's going on? I asked. Veronica turned the screen toward me. Nothing's wrong, she said, but you need to see this. It was an email from Tyler Wells at Halvorson Corp. After careful review, Halvorson is terminating our contract with Marlowe and Birch, effective immediately. We'll be seeking representation that reflects our core values, starting with trust and authentic partnership. My breath caught. The next 48 hours were a blur. By Wednesday afternoon, all 3 companies, Halvorson, Evergreen, and Richfield Mutual, had sent formal termination notices to Marlowe and Birch. By Thursday morning, we were fielding 2 new inquiries from other clients who had heard about the mass departure and were asking about North Shore. This is happening faster than we expected, Veronica said during an impromptu strategy session in Jason's living room. Jason was already typing. Our designer's finalizing the logo today. Website wireframe is ready. But we need office space like yesterday. I might have a lead, I said. I explained that Elaine Brightwell, our original founder, still owned the old brownstone in downtown Minneapolis, where Brightwell Communications first started. She'd been leasing it to a nonprofit, but they were moving out next month. Veronica's eyes lit up. That's perfect. Symbolic, too. Returning to the roots of what marketing should be. I texted Elaine. Her reply came within minutes. For you, Meredith? Absolutely. Let's talk tomorrow. As we continued planning, my phone rang, unknown number. I excused myself and answered. Meredith Lane speaking. Ms. Lane, this is Diane Walters, chairperson of the board at Marlowe and Birch. I froze. The board chair herself? Yes, Ms. Walters. How can I help you? I'll be direct, she said. Her voice was composed, professional, but not cold. 3 major clients severing ties within 48 hours has caused serious concern. We're meeting tomorrow to review leadership decisions. But before that, I'd like your perspective. I inhaled slowly and chose my words with care. I explained the context, the growing tension under Kelsey's leadership, her dismissal of relationship-based marketing, the abrupt replacement of my role with someone lacking client history. I made sure to clarify. These clients came to me on their own. I have not solicited anyone. She listened quietly, not interrupting. I made it clear I had not solicited a single client. Every one of them had reached out to me on their own. And these accounts, Diane Walters asked, they're following you to this new venture? That appears to be their intention, I confirmed. A long pause followed. Then came the unexpected. Would you consider returning to Marlowe and Birch if changes were made in leadership? The question stopped me cold. Return to the company that had cast me aside? After being labeled outdated? After watching them replace decades of trust with a press release and an Instagram feed? Ms. Walters, I said carefully, I'm flattered. Truly. But I've already committed to a new path. My partners and I are launching North Shore Collective. We've signed the lease. Filed formation documents. We're moving forward. I understand, she said, though her voice carried a trace of disappointment. One final question. Do you believe these client departures are about you personally, or about the approach to marketing Kelsey has rejected? Both, I answered without hesitation. In relationship marketing, the personal and professional are one and the same. These clients don't just want flashy campaigns, they want consistency, understanding, and trust. That takes years to build and seconds to destroy. When I ended the call and walked back into the room, Jason and Veronica were waiting. "The board chair?" Jason asked. I nodded. "They're questioning Kelsey's leadership." Jason gave a low whistle. "That's got to be a record, 3 days." "They asked if I'd come back," I added. Veronica's brows furrowed. "And?" I told them I'm committed to North Shore. Relief visibly swept across their faces. "Good," Veronica said, her voice firm. "Because we just got confirmation Richfield Mutual is officially signing with us as soon as we're operational." As if on cue, my phone buzzed. An email from Tyler at Halvorson Corporation subject, "Contract ready for review." Another email popped up almost instantly from Jessica at Evergreen Organics, "Moving forward with North Shore Collective." 3 days. And we had already secured signed commitments representing over $4 million in annual billing. And North Shore hadn't even launched yet. "I think," Jason said, practically bouncing with excitement, "we're going to need a bigger office." Exactly 2 weeks after I was let go, North Shore Collective officially opened its doors. We had secured the lease on Elaine Brightwell's original brownstone, the birthplace of Brightwell Communications. The symbolism wasn't lost on us. Elaine even came out of retirement to serve as an advisor. "You've brought it full circle," she told me, standing in the freshly painted entryway. "This is what I always envisioned, marketing grounded in relationships, not trends." Our team grew quickly. Beyond me, Jason, and Veronica, we hired 2 brand strategists, a content team, and a digital specialist. All of them were former Marlowe and Birch employees, people who had either been pushed out or left voluntarily after the new direction took over. On the morning of our official launch, I received a text from Ellie. "Mom, have you seen the news about Marlowe and Birch?" I hadn't. I'd been immersed in final prep for our first all-hands meeting. I opened the link she sent. "Marketing agency shakeup. Marlowe and Birch announces CEO departure following major client exodus." The article detailed how Kelsey Wren was stepping down to pursue new opportunities after the loss of several longtime accounts. The board had appointed an interim CEO and launched a search for permanent leadership. I showed the article to Jason and Veronica. "I knew there would be fallout," Jason said slowly. "But I didn't expect it to happen this fast," Jason said, shaking his head. "The board must have been horrified by the revenue hit," Veronica added. "Losing 40% of your billing in 1 week would terrify any shareholder." I sat with their words for a moment, feeling a swirl of emotions. Vindication, yes, but also sadness. Marlowe and Birch had been my professional home for 15 years. Watching it stumble wasn't something I took pleasure in. "Let's focus on North Shore," I said finally. "Whatever happens over there, it's their challenge now, not ours." As our team filtered into the meeting room for our 6-month anniversary celebration, I felt something I hadn't in a long time: genuine excitement. This wasn't just a reaction to rejection anymore. It had grown into something with its own identity, its own soul. In just 6 months, North Shore Collective had become a respected name in regional marketing. We'd gone beyond our original 3 clients and secured 4 additional accounts, each drawn in by our relationship-first philosophy. Our team had doubled in size. We'd even expanded into the building next door to Elaine's original brownstone. The energy was real, and it was growing. That morning, as I arrived early to prep my remarks, the front desk rang. "Meredith, you have a visitor." To my surprise, it was Avery Langston, my former replacement at Marlowe and Birch. She stood in the lobby, looking more uncertain than I'd ever seen her. "Do you have a moment?" she asked, voice quieter than I remembered. I nodded and invited her in. "I've been following North Shore's growth," she said, nervously clutching a coffee cup. "What you've built in 6 months is remarkable." "Thank you," I replied, neutral. "What can I do for you, Avery?" She looked down, then took a deep breath. "After you left, things fell apart. Without those big accounts, They couldn't maintain payroll. 3 rounds of layoffs. It's been chaos. I blinked. I hadn't kept tabs on Marlowe and Birch. I'd been far too busy building something new. I'm sorry to hear that. The thing is, she continued, I've realized something. Kelsey was wrong. Your methods, they weren't outdated. They were foundational. I thought I could just inherit the relationships. But they left because I hadn't earned their trust. I didn't understand what they needed, not like you did. Her honesty caught me off guard. So, why are you telling me this? I asked carefully. Avery straightened her back. They let me go last week. I'm not here for a job, not yet anyway. I came to ask if you'd consider mentoring me. I want to learn to do this the right way, from the ground up. I studied her, noting the humility in her tone. She wasn't here to save face. She was here to grow. That afternoon, as our entire team gathered for the celebration, the room buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and framed campaign milestones lining the walls. This wasn't just a company anymore, it was a community. A place where values weren't just preached, they were practiced. As I stepped to the front of the room, I looked across the smiling faces, former colleagues who had found a new professional home, and new voices helping shape what came next. New hires brought fresh energy and perspective, and in the back of the room stood Avery, who had accepted my invitation to join our celebration, her first step toward what might become a real mentorship. 6 months ago, I began. Raising my glass, we started North Shore Collective with one simple belief, that in marketing, just like in life, relationships matter. The room quieted as everyone turned their attention to me. That trust is earned, not demanded. That it's built through consistency, empathy, and follow-through. That listening is often more important than speaking. There were nods around the room. Some smiled. A few looked deeply moved. What we've created here isn't just a reaction to being dismissed or replaced. It's an affirmation, a declaration, that what we've always known is still true. I paused, making eye contact with the people who had believed in this mission from day one. Marketing isn't about chasing trends. It's about connecting authentically with the people behind the data. It's not just strategy. It's relationship. And that can't be automated. I held up my glass. To North Shore Collective. To relationships that last. And to remembering that sometimes the most valuable thing a company can have isn't the newest platform or tool. It's the people who know how to build trust. Applause rose around the room. And as I glanced toward the window, I caught my reflection, not the woman who had walked out of Marlowe and Birch feeling cast aside 6 months ago, but someone entirely new. Someone who had turned a professional wound into a new beginning. Someone who had helped build something meaningful. This journey, from loss to leadership, was never about revenge. It was about validation. It was proof that authentic, value-driven marketing still had a place in a world too often swept up in what's shiny and fast. The clients hadn't followed me because of nostalgia. They followed because they recognized the difference between noise and substance. In the end, Kelsey had been right about one thing. It was time for change. She just didn't realize that real innovation is about rediscovering what actually works. And sometimes the best revenge is success. I want to hear from you. If you've ever been called outdated, passed over, or made to feel like your experience no longer mattered, then you already know a piece of my story. What happened to me wasn't just about losing a job. It was about being told that the years I spent building trust, nurturing relationships, and delivering real results somehow didn't count anymore. But I chose not to shrink. I chose to build. And now, I'd love to hear your perspective. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to start over after being pushed out? Leave a comment below. Tell me your story, your advice, your support. I read every one of them, and I know others in this community will benefit from your voice too. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you don't have to chase trends to stay relevant. You don't have to change who you are to meet someone else's idea of what's modern. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stay rooted in what you know matters. Trust, respect, consistency. So here's my challenge to you. Whatever season of life you're in, don't let anyone make you feel replaceable. You are not a file to be archived or a name to be erased. You are a lifetime of wisdom and resilience. If this story resonated with you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's build something real together. Because sometimes, the best way to prove your worth is to walk forward without looking back. And thrive.